Hi there. For today's short and sweet practice, you'll need a wall or a table or a chair, something solid to hold on to start with. So we're going to start with one hand on the wall, sideways on, and then the outside leg is just going to swing. So without touching the floor if possible. So you feel a sense of loosening in your hip. And then you'll probably notice the whole of your body joins in this movement. Your trunk arches and then slightly curls. Your pelvis is tipping forwards and then backwards. So just noticing how that feels along your spine and your trunk, your lower back, your hip. So just a full kind of body loosening. Okay. And then from there, we're just going to lift the knee up and circle the hip around a bit. You could go both directions. Just start to notice how your hip joint feels. Noticing it's a ball and socket, there's this circular movement the hip can do. And you might notice as you do that, your standing leg works quite hard as well. Okay, so that's just some hip loosening, oiling of the joint feelings. So from there we're going to shift to a much more firm, solid position through the trunk. For the next movement we're going to keep the trunk still and the pelvis still as best as we can. And then from there taking the outside leg behind you, lifting your foot up, heel towards your bum. And as you take that leg behind you, bending the knee, notice that the body will want to arch. So that's what we're trying not to do. So it's a little core work there happening as you lift your leg up behind you, pushing down through the foot that's on the floor as well, and then seeing what muscles you can feel help you do this. So you'll be feeling the trunk muscles holding you straight, and as you don't tip the pelvis, notice if you can feel that backside engaging. So we want those glute muscles switching on a lot, and the hamstring. From there, we're going to take the knee out to the side, trying not to move the pelvis, seeing if we can lift the knee up out to the side, probably saying hello to some underused muscles on the outside there. And then from there, bringing the knee forward, feeling into the hip flexor muscles at the front of the hip as well. From there, lower your leg down and take a breather. Could you feel that on the standing leg hip as well? Okay, we're going to do that 2 more times, a little bit faster. We know our goal is to move the hip joint and all the muscles around it. This is strength and mobility of the hip. We know we're targeting the backside that we've been sitting on and just doing the best you can to keep everything still. So from there, taking that outside leg behind you again, keeping the ribs in, lifting the leg behind you as much as you can without arching, and then taking the knee to the side, toes up, knee up, knee comes back to the center, feel the front of your hip and lower down. Last one, leg up behind you, leg out to the side, lifting up, knee forward and then lowering back down. Okay, oh, I can feel my standing leg, I don't know about you. And then we're going to take that same foot, the outside foot behind us a little bit, and you can adjust the distance as you do a few of these. See how it feels to come up onto your tiptoes, but keep your toes down. So we're finding that hinge at the base of the toes. So high up on your tiptoes and then pressing the heel down, stretching the calf and the Achilles, up on the tiptoes, hinging in the middle of the foot. And just slow, smooth up and down, adjusting the position as you need. So we start to get mobility in the foot, as well as work some foot strength, and stretch out the lower part of the leg. So a few of those. Just slowly lowering down, slowly lifting back up. How comfortable does that feel? Does it feel like that's an area to work on a little? And then from there we're going to go up and roll over the toes onto the top of the foot. Bend your knees, see how much of the top of the foot you can kind of press into the floor, stretching the top of the foot, rolling back over the toes and heel down. So a few of those brings in a little bit more of the ankle joint and stretching out the top of the foot. And again, is this comfortable? Does it feel kind of unfamiliar movement? So exploring where our body needs a little bit more activity. And all this movement, of course, feeds all the way up to the hips. So working the feet and ankles is really helpful for strong hips as well. Okay, and then we're going to do the other side. So starting off with our leg swings, just relaxing through the hip joint and just feeling how your trunk joins in, arching and slightly rounding. How's that on your lower back? Noticing what you're feeling. Can you feel that front of the hip? Okay, and then from there, just some kind of gentle circles through the hip joint. You can go both directions. How's that hip joint feeling today? And usually for a lot of us, we start to notice a few little tight spots. And that might be the muscles around the hip. We might just be feeling a bit of limitation in the range of motion of the hip joint as well. So just seeing where we've got room to focus on what needs a little bit of attention. Okay. And just keep resting your legs as we go through this as much as you need. So from here, we're going to shift to the firm trunk, little extra bit of core work, and we're going to take the outside leg behind us. Pulling your foot up towards your bum, try not to let the back arch. How much can you pull that leg behind you before you start to arch? And to do that, the old backside has to kick in. So feeling that, holding that, pushing the foot into the floor that's supporting you. From there, can we take the knee out to the side without the hips turning too much? Lifting that knee up, feeling the side there. Knee to the center, feeling your hip flexors at the top. And then lowering down. After the first one, take a little break. So we're going to aim for 3. If you need to do them a little quicker for now, that's all fine as well. But you get the idea. We're keeping everything still so that that hip joint finds more movement. The muscles around the hip joint do most of the work of this rather than other parts of the body. Okay, so same thing. Push down through the foot on the mat. Lift your foot up towards your bum. Take your leg behind you without arching. How far will it go? It won't be very far at all. We're talking a couple of inches. And then start to rotate the leg to the side, lifting it up. Pull your knee up towards the center and lower down again. We'll do one more like that. Leg behind without arching as much as possible. And leg up to the side, back to the front, feeling your hip flexor, and then the leg back down. Okay. You can always turn the video off and do extra of those if they felt really great. And then we're going to take that foot back behind us. You might need to adjust your distance. Can you press the toes down and lift the heel up? And then reach the heel all the way back down to the mat. Slow and smooth. Hinging the toes. And again, just noticing, does that feel comfortable? Can you lift your heel up quite high, or do you feel like there's a bit more work there to be done? Can you spread your baby toe out as well? And then from there, we're going over the foot, to the top of the foot, over the toes, to the top, and then pushing back out through the heel. And again, just slow and smooth so that you can feel all the different sensations in your foot, in your ankle, in the calf, the back of the leg. Okay, so this is our foot strength and mobility. Okay. From there, we're going to come up to the top of the mat. And finding a little bit of a knee bend, let your arms roll forward, palms facing forward. From there, we're going to create a big circle. As you inhale, arms wide, straighten your legs, reach your arms up. Feeling a full inhale there. As you exhale, palms together, hands can come down the front. Bend your knees and let your hands drop down again. Inhaling with your fingertips drawing this big circle. Exhaling, a slow, steady breath, hands down the front. A couple more like that. As you inhale, find that widening through your whole trunk, lengthening up through your sides and your spine, exhaling down. So using the breath to create space and a sense of elasticity and movement through your whole body. Okay, from there we're going to inhale the arms up again, and then this time come up on our tiptoes as well. If you need to have one hand on your wall or your chair, that's fine. So get a little bit of support if you need. We're going to start to lower the arms in front of us and bend the knees as well, but staying up on the tiptoes. Any amount of knee bend, re-straightening your arms and reaching the arms any amount above your head. So just finding some little bit of movement with your arms, any amount of bend through the knees. It might just be a quite small movement going up and down. It might be with one hand on the wall. We've got lots of things happening here. One is working your intrinsic foot strength. So you can take the balance out of it and focus on feeling the connection of your legs all the way down to your feet. You can be adding a little bit more work of balance, which is also the feet finding their strength to balance you. Going slowly enough just to notice all the different sensations. Coordinating with your breath. And any amount of knee bend, you could be coming all the way down to sit on your heels and then trying to keep the legs parallel as you reach back up. So finding your own range and allowing for all the wobbles, which is all the right bits talking to each other. On the next one, planting your feet down, hands to the mat, come into a standing forward bend. Taking some full smooth breaths into your back, releasing your head and neck in any way that feels good. You might be looking forward with hands on your knees if that's a better position. And full breaths there. And then from there, hands down, shifting to knees down on the mat and elbows down on the mat as well. From here, bring your hands together, interlacing your fingers, and we're going to push down through the elbows and arms to find that protraction of the shoulder blades. So they slide to the sides, pull your shoulders down away from your ears, and see if you can feel your rib cage lift up a bit. So for our upper body, or our whole body position here, because we're focusing on the legs and the bum, we're trying to keep the spine feeling straight. So we don't want the spine to be dipping down. We don't want the shoulders to be collapsing. So for the whole movement, we're going to be pushing the arms down into the mat, shoulders down away from ears, and engaging the front body, lots of whole core middle engagement there to stop the lower back collapsing down. Okay, so feeling for those things, arms push down, shoulders pull down, ribs lift up a little. We're going to reach the foot up towards the bum and then lift your back knee up. Now here's where it's really easy to dip into the spine. So keep pushing through your arms, lifting your rib cage up, and you're just lifting your leg as high as you can without any dip happening. So again, we're driving the movement to the glutes, the backside and the hamstrings. And then from there, as slowly as you can, reach that leg straight, pushing out through your heel. Hold it. Can you feel your hamstrings? They're straight, that leg is straight, but your hamstrings contract. Slowly lower the foot down to the mat. Pull your knee back in and repeat. So you probably need to push a little bit more into your right elbow, reaching the leg out, lowering down, pulling in. Take a breather when you need. You keep that heel close to your bum as you lift your knee up to the ceiling. There's your glutes. Reach the leg out dead straight, push out through your heel, toes tap down to the mat. You might need to take a breath now and rest out one. Otherwise we're going to do another 3 here. Reaching out, squeeze your bum and hamstrings the whole time, toes tap down. You might need to reset your arms and shoulders. One more here, reaching out, foot comes down, knee comes down. Time for a child's pose, a down dog pedal, anything you like. But just feeling a slow, fuller breath in and a lovely releasing exhale. So using your breath to kind of release the intensity of that feeling. And then we'll come back and do the second side. So planting the arms down, pulling the shoulders down away from the ears, and then pushing the mat away with your elbows, reach out through your left leg. So we're remembering to lift the ribs up so that the spine doesn't dip down. Pulling your heel in towards your bum, lift your knee up as high as you can without dipping your back. Slow reach out through the heel, lower your toes down. Pulling in, knee up, heel in, reach the heel out and down. Notice if you're swaying to the side, you might need to push down through your left elbow a bit more. Notice if you're speeding the movement up. You get loads more out of it the slower you can go, the more you can feel and squeeze the muscles. Feeling everything still other than your leg, your glutes, that hip working. Okay, hopefully you've had a little breather if you've needed one. Last one there. And release, pull that knee in. And then we're going to shift to lying down on the tummy. And just take a breather there. Just seeing how it feels in your body to breathe with your whole front kind of in contact with a flat surface. See if it changes how you feel and notice your breathing. Perhaps there's a little bit more movement to the sides. Perhaps there's a little bit more movement in the back. So we're going to do our next movement lying down on the tummy. If that's not a good position for you, you can actually do it at a wall as well. So we'll be lifting the leg up. You might be doing it at a wall, lifting your leg up like this, or even your hands on a surface, lifting your back leg up like that. So that's the alternative if lying on your tummy isn't a good position. Otherwise, we're going to keep our forehead on the hands. I'm going to lift my head up because I'm talking, but you can keep your forehead down on the backs of your hands. And then the first thing we're going to do is set the pelvis. So it's squeezing the glutes a bit and kind of anchoring down through the pelvis, which means it feels like the pubic bone presses down into the mat. The belly button area gets a bit lighter and it feels like your pelvis tips back and weights down to the base of the buttocks. And what that does is it creates more length in the lumbar spine, more tone in your tummy, so we let the lumbar area have more support. So we're going to maintain that, squeezing the bum, pressing the pubic bone down, feeling your lower back lengthening, and then firming your legs as much as you can, lifting the kneecaps up. We're going to lift up the right leg from the hip flexor, the front of that hip. So it's not going to lift high, it's going to be a tiny amount. And just pointing your toes back, lift up from your hip and try not to let your lower back dip down much. Lower the leg down and repeat. Squeezing your bum and your hamstrings, that's what's going to lift the leg up from the hip and then slowly lower down. So it's not about getting anywhere, you need to go really slowly. It's not about lifting the leg up high. If you lift it high, you've kind of lost this movement. Keep your leg low. Feel like you're reaching your toes behind you. Lift up and squeeze the back, bum and hamstrings. We're going to do 3 more on this side. Lift and squeeze. Feel like you're lengthening the front of your hip. And last one. So again, we're targeting that back chain that we sit on and waking those muscles up a bit more. Okay, second side. Pelvis anchors down, base of the bum squeezes, point your toes towards the wall behind you and feel like you're lifting your leg up using the muscles of your glutes and hamstrings. And there's a lengthening happening right at the hip at the front. Thigh muscle firm, so it's a slow lift up and squeeze at the back and a slow lowering down. Noticing how your pelvis moves and you're trying to minimize that. Let's do 1 more. Okay, from there, an option is to breathe again. There's a lot of value in breathing in this position and letting the back move a bit more. Or if you felt like you wanted more of that work, you could anchor the pelvis down again. And we're going to do the same thing, except this time you're just going to alternate the legs. And as one leg lowers down, the other leg lifts up. So it's a bit like swimming. You're doing your front crawl legs here. but with this real rooting down of the pelvis and activation of your glutes and your hamstrings. So you're really trying to see if you can feel the backs of your thighs contract as you do this. If you wanted to add a little bit more work, you could add the arms. There's all kinds of arm movements you could do. You could reach your arms up behind you, keeping the chest heavy and low, but the shoulders up. You could have the arms out on the diagonal and be lifting opposite arm and leg. And that will ask the back to join in more. So this is really one for if you've done this quite a few times already. And then relaxing whatever you've been doing. We'll push up towards a child's pose again. You could let your hips wiggle a bit side to side. And find that slower but still slightly fuller breath. Either a few more breaths in your child's pose. You might like to shift to lying down breathing at this point with knees bent. Or if you'd like one more strength-based movement, you could come into your down dog there and reach one leg up behind you with the foot, the heel squeezing to the bum, and just try a few of those circles of the hip in down dog. You could try both directions. So you're either lying down, letting the breath movement stay full and smooth, or you could have a go at some down dog hip circles. And from there, from your down dog, you might shift to plank, drop to your knees, and then we'll all shift to lying down. And as you shift to lying down, just tuning into that slowing down, softening breath rhythm again. And just see if there's any other movement you'd like to end your practice with today. So it might be a windshield wipers, or a bridge, or hugging your knees, or a happy baby. So finding your own kind of enjoying moving through your body moment. And then if you'd like to turn the video off and set your timer for 5 to 10 minutes rest, you could do that now as well. Otherwise, we're just going to stay for a couple more rounds of breath and then shift. And enjoying that moment of release, the letting go of effort and focus. And just aware of your whole body as you breathe. Aware of this sense of slowing down and softening. So coming back always to kind of feeling a sense of centering and coming back to ourselves after perhaps being a bit busier. And softening into that quiet space of the belly. Okay, and then from there, a full breath in and out. Rolling over. And coming back. Just give yourself perhaps a breath or two sitting up. So we have that little pause to transition back into the day. So appreciating that the yoga practice can give you this contact with your body, yourself, your own vitality, your own awareness. And taking some of that with you into the rest of your day. And thank you for joining me today.